Hello, I'm Braddock Supervisor John Cook. Thank you for watching my news program, Braddock Neighborhood News, which takes an in-depth look at the local topics most important to you and our community. Our library system is the largest in the state and one of the largest nationwide. Because of this, we have a number of resources available to us that other jurisdictions do not. To meet the ever-changing needs of county residents, our library branches are constantly working to update their services and materials. This month, I've invited Library Director Jessica Hudson, along with Michael Donovan, who sits on the library board, to come on BNN and tell us about their mission of working to give us the best Fairfax library possible. Jessica, Mike, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jessica, you're new to our library, and welcome. And tell us about the library system. We have a big library in this county.
We do. We have the largest library system in Virginia and one of the largest library systems in the nation, like you mentioned. And that gives us a lot of opportunities. We have 22 traditional libraries, branches that are either regional for larger spaces, larger hours, more staff and resources, and community libraries. But we also have our Access Services Library in the Government Center, as well as our Technical Operations Center. We're open many hours. Most of our libraries are open 6 and 7 days a week, and we see almost 4 million visitors a year.
And the libraries are sort of overseen or governed by library board. Mike, you're my appointee to the library board. Yes. Most people probably don't know that. So tell us a little bit about what the library board is and what your role is with the library.
Absolutely. The library board is a volunteer board, consists of 12 members who are appointed, 9 from each of the 9 districts of the county, appointed by the supervisor. We also have a at-large member who's appointed by the chairman of the board. We also have a member who's from the school system, as well as a member from the city of Fairfax. So that makes 12. We have 4 basic tasks of the board. We set policy for the system. We set general strategic guidance for the system. We also approve the budget for the system on an annual basis, and then we hire the director to run the system.
And libraries are changing. Jessica,
Always.
it's probably one of the biggest changes going on right now in our culture is the library and what it means, and because communication is changing so rapidly. Some of us like books, things that we hold in our hands and we turn pages, and others, often are younger folks, but not always, are doing digital things and electronic books and all sorts of stuff. So talk a little bit about how the concept of the library is changing.
Sure. We often get that question, is there still a library in my community? Or what do I even do with the library? I can buy my books on Amazon or look up the information I want on Google or anywhere really. Why would I need to come into your building and ask you these questions? And we're very fortunate in that we have a large community that supports what we offer and that they recognize what we do in our libraries. It's not always about the traditional version of the library that you come in and you check out a book and you go home and you bring it back. We still offer those great traditional services, but we have evolving services as well. We offer a lot of technology options for people who may not have that available or accessible at home. We offer programmatic options. So you're talking about our littlest citizens, and we offer great story times and programs for them. And we offer wonderful opportunities from home. So if you don't want to come into our library, you don't have to. You can use one of our databases, you can check out an ebook, you can use any number of services. So if I think about our community is over 1 million people, we still circulate 12 million items a year. So every single resident of this county, if we did just a flat equation, checks out about 12 items from their library. But we have people that all they do is come in to use our spaces as a community center, a community hub where they can meet other individuals and talk about things, where they can partake of programs and use our meeting rooms. So we have these really great traditional services, but we're trying to meet the evolving needs of what people want to see in both a community space and a library.
And Mike, that's important. I know it's one of our priorities on the Board of Supervisors, and I think that's reflected in the library board, that all of our county facilities we view as sort of owned by the community, and our libraries are community centers. They are more than just a library, and that's something that you and the board work on all the time.
Yeah, it's an evolving issue that we want to deal with because we want to respond to what our customers, the citizens of the county, want, which brings us to the point of the recent strategic initiative that the Board of Trustees completed recently, where we wanted to get feedback from the citizens of the county to see what they wanted. And based upon this initiative, which we received the feedback from the consulting firm Civic Technologies, we have some very hard empirical data from which we can then use to plan and execute a strategic plan that will be developed by Jessica and her staff.
So tell us, that's really a great effort, and so tell us what we want. So now what has the survey told us that we as the community want?
I can take that one.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
I think the most interesting thing I have to share from the Public Engagement Initiative is one of the highest marks that the library received was about our parking. And I know, I couldn't believe it. They have obviously not been to the Patrick Henry Library at a busy moment, but I think that speaks a lot to the type of community that we serve, that you want to be able to actually come to your library and stay for a little while and enjoy what you're doing and grab your books and meet a friend and take in a program. You're not always just in and out using services. But what we heard that the community really wants is just more. They want more hours, they want more space, they want more services and programs, but in particular they want more self-service options. Right now the library offers self-checkout machines, but they want to be able to maybe self-return or do more options available online. And they also want us to have more and broader technology options. We have great public PCs. You can come in and hop on for an hour or two and do your work, but maybe we need to expand that and offer laptops to check out. We have maker machines at some of our libraries. Maybe we need to expand those programs as well. So now that we have the public engagement report that the trustees commissioned, we'll take that information and, working with all of our community constituents that were involved in the original process, develop a plan to last us 3 to 5 years that'll guide us going forward so that we can keep meeting those changing needs of the community.
And that process, it'll be an open, transparent, and very deliberate process to make sure that we answer the requirements of the citizens of the county. And the board will supervise that process, and at certain points the staff will come to us and tell us how they are progressing. And then finally at the end, when they have completed the strategic plan, they'll come back and brief us as a whole, and then we will approve that and we'll move forward with it. And along that process, there will be multiple opportunities for the citizens to make sure that we heard them right, as they told through the strategic initiative.
And as we're talking about this, I guess I'm not surprised, because we know our libraries, as we've been talking about, really are community centers, community hubs, and a number of the services that we have, for example, a lot of people use our libraries to look for jobs as sort of career centers.
Absolutely.
Talk about how they do that.
Well, if you come into the library physically, of course, we're always happy to assist you. You can use a computer to apply for a job or work on your resume. We offer classes if you need assistance in updating those kind of things or learning job skills such as Excel or Word applications. But we also have a great opportunity for people on our website. We actually have a career center where you can go in and you can take tests. If you needed to take, say, a test to become a nurse, we have tests, vocational tests you can go in and take for practice for free. We have the Career Center also offers opportunities where you can go in and you can see what kind of the hot job markets are, so that if you're looking for a career change, you can traject it in such a way that you know you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And there's a number of other databases that you can use to research what your new job is going to be, or just to look for any job if you need something right now.
And then, of course, programming, and if you have kids, you know how much stuff there is at the library. It's a great place to take them. But even for adults, older adults, and the programs run all the time.
Another piece out of the public engagement process, the community said they wanted more and more programming, but the areas that they highlighted were youth services programming, older adult programming, and ESL programming. So we know that those 3 areas are a high priority for our communities, and part of what this plan will do is it'll provide us an overarch scope for the county system as a whole, but it'll allow us to individualize for each branch, because the services that we provide at the Kings Park Library are not going to be the same services and programs we provide at, say, the Sherwood Library. They're different types of communities, they're different demographics of communities, they have different age groups of children, so we want to be able to tailor fit those to the people that actually are using the services in our branches.
You know, it's funny you mentioned ESL, and of course we have programs to help folks learn English, but we also know that people want to read in their native language. Our county has people speaking over 150 languages in it. How does the library respond to that? What kind of abilities do we have to get, whether it's print documents or electronic documents, in other languages?
Sure. We tend to focus on 3 specific languages other than English. We purchase materials in Spanish, Vietnamese, and Korean. Those are the largest language groups within the county, and we have tried to put our money into those collections so that we can provide a large resource for those particular speaking and reading groups. We also offer a database called Mango, which allows for language skill learning. So if you speak one of those languages, but you'd like to bolster up your English language skills, or you speak English and you'd like to learn one of those languages, you can go online and take these classes.
And now, you know, Mike, as the board looks at the strategic plan as it develops and some of the things we've been talking about, what kind of how is that evolving in our thinking as far as what the library should be in the future?
Well, we are looking at how our customers want their services and how they want them delivered and how we position them throughout the county. And so that strategic initiative has informed us, will inform us to, as we develop that strategy, which we as the board will look at it as an overarching strategy. We'll let the library director and her staff develop the nuts and bolts of it, and we will approve it as it goes along. But what we want to make sure that we do is, as I mentioned before, be deliberate about it and be transparent with it, and again, be strategic, because it's not our job to tell Jessica and her staff how to run her operation on a day-to-day basis. That's not our job, that's her job. So we want to make sure that we differentiate those functions, make sure that the board focuses on the strategic direction that we want the library to take.
You know, as we look at how libraries change and adjust, and it's interesting, there's a greater demand for services, but library use is dropping. Those things would seem to be in conflict, but they're really not.
No, and it's interesting, and part of it's a function of how much money we put into different kind of pockets. So 2008 and beyond, Great Recession, we had less money that went into our collection development budget. So if you were a patron and you came into your local library, you might see less new materials on the shelves. So you might be less apt to come back as frequently as you might, and it creates this kind of cyclical factor. You know, you come in, you don't see what you want, you come in again, you still don't see what you want. So we're going to try and bolster back up some of those pieces to gain back some of that membership we may have lost by increasing our collection development offerings, by making sure the databases we offer are relevant, and using additional methods to draw people back into our libraries. I think that one of the key areas that we're hoping to snag new users with, or old returning users, is technology. I mentioned earlier we have several 3D printing machines, and we participate in things like 3D printing sessions where the public can come and look at how they work, maker fairs, anything that's kind of new and a little bit shiny, so that people will come in and they'll recognize that, yes, this program is interesting to me, but so are all these other wonderful options that maybe I didn't even know the library offered. So I think about the fact that, yes, we have had some decreasing usage, but comparatively, it's pretty minimal. We still see millions of people every year, and our circulation has been actually pretty flat. Our ebook usage has been skyrocketing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think that to me seems like part of that evolving process of what the library is. While what we may think of as traditional library use, coming in, checking out a book, taking it home, has gone down a bit, but the number of people coming in and doing programs and looking for jobs, or the kids coming in and after school doing work, that kind of usage is increasing.
Sure, and if you go into any of our libraries, you'll see the meeting rooms are booked and the quiet study rooms are jammed with people. And you go into branches after school and you see these tidal waves of children coming into the facilities. And yes, usage is changing, but the ideology that we have as a library and the services that we provide to our community, our mission and vision, those aren't changing. We still want to be an educational, entertainment, opportunity resource for our community. It's just the methodology and kind of the function of it changed a little bit. We're not getting rid of traditional services, we're growing alongside of them.
And we as the board need to recognize that those requirements and those demands will change over time, and they have changed, and we need to make sure that we're ahead of that. And that's the whole purpose behind the strategic plan, is to make sure that we articulate that as an organization, and we move forward to provide what the community wants.
Now, we said in the beginning we're the biggest library in Virginia. That has, I think, a lot of advantages. Probably has some drawbacks too. What are the pros and cons, pluses and minuses that we have being a big system, and kind of how do we react to that?
Well, we have a very vocal and committed support system of customers and advocates, which is great. However, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we consider all views and all opinions and move with that. And we have a very supportive and thriving and substantial volunteer force that helps really help us operate on a day-to-day basis and help the full-time staff provide the services that the community wants. And that's a great way for folks, if they feel that they want to give back to their community, go to the public library and go to their local branch and just say, how can I help?
And we do, I want to talk about, let's talk about volunteers for a minute, and we're going to come back into the subject of being this big library system. We make great use of volunteers throughout our system. I know in my library, Kings Park, ton of volunteers who are doing so much work. How important, Jessica, how important are our volunteers to supplementing your paid staff, and how do they work alongside the staff?
Volunteers are hugely important to us. We would have a very difficult job running our libraries without them. Volunteers run the gamut of people that have been coming into the same library for 20 years doing the same volunteer task because they love to do it, to those that are in high school and just need to cover their service hours. We have so many volunteers at all of our locations that do a variety of things. You can help with circulation functions. You could help on the reference desk. You can help with programs. You can help with our volunteer foundation as well for special events like the annual Jubilee program. Really, if you have an interest and a need to volunteer, I am sure we can find a place.
And we have our friends groups. We have friends of library groups. Those are really critically important too.
Absolutely. All of our all of our libraries have friends groups, and those friends groups take in book donations and sell them to generate revenues that come back to the library to supplement our budget. Many of our friends groups have regular ongoing book sales. Some of them do big annual events, and some of them do other fundraising opportunities as well. But all of them support our libraries, and we would be the worse off without them.
And you mentioned fundraising, the Library Foundation. This is an important point for viewers to understand. You can support your library, right, by contributing funds to the Library Foundation. You can even leave a bequest in your will to Library Foundation. How valuable is that financial support?
We love our foundation. It's got dedicated volunteers. It has some very dedicated staff as well. And the foundation supports some mission critical operations that we do. They support our early literacy programming. They support Changing Lives Through Literature, which allows juvenile delinquents to read books in lieu of serving time. They support our collection development opportunities with supplementing our budget. They are so wonderful, and if our public has the opportunity, they should definitely donate their time or their money to the foundation.
Right. Great way for people to be involved in many aspects, and circling back to how that's important to our big system. And Jessica, we were talking a minute ago about our library being the biggest in the state. That's got pros and cons, and talk a little bit about that from the management perspective that you see.
Sure.
How are we different from a small town library?
Sure. We are a very large system, and the pro of being a large system is that you have some economies. You have more people thinking and doing. So instead of one librarian creating a program and then you only do it the one time and that's it, maybe one librarian creates a program and then you can share it with all of your colleagues. So you've created this thing and it can be duplicated at 22 locations. That is a wonderful economy of scale that we can have as a large system. Of course, the con is the exact same thing. We want to have as much equity as possible so that our communities at Burke Center Library are getting the same types of programming opportunities as those at, say, the Lorton Library. And making sure that we create that equity can take some time because there's a lot of, as a big government structure, it can take a little time to move some things through.
So looking at the system and just kind of thinking ahead, we've been talking a lot during the show here about how libraries are changing. Let's project into the future just for fun. And what's the library of the future going to look like? We know there's so much change now, but what does that mean for our children? 20, 30, 40 years from now, what's the library going to look like? What do we think?
I don't think the library will look all that different. Even though we've had these drastic changes over the last 20, 30, 40 years, it's still the same mission. We're here to provide educational entertainment opportunities for our communities. So if you look back 30 years, we had just started collecting VHS cassettes and maybe cassette records or cassette, like the little ones you would put in your car. And then it transitioned and we bought DVDs. And now it's transitioning and we offer streaming services for people. I imagine that the format is going to continue to change how people consume information, but the fact that people want information and that they need validated information, that we can provide those services, I don't see that changing. So the casing might change a little bit, but the structure and the content, I don't see that changing a lot.
And Mike, it will continue to be really a community center in some broad use of that term, and that's part of what the board's there to see.
Absolutely. There will always be people who want to go to the library, whether it's young kids who want to study or some adults who want to meet as a group and they just don't have anywhere else to go. The library can serve that. And so we like to say that we cover all aspects, deliver all sorts of services to the community, and we see that won't change. And we want to be that place where folks come to.
We talked earlier about programs that we have at the library, and we have so many. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into that. Jessica, give us some examples of some of the programs. So if people are watching, they might be thinking, oh, a library program, they might have an idea of what that means. But give us a sense of sort of the broad array of things that are other than checking a book out, but some of the different programs and such that people might not realize are at our libraries.
Sure. We try and cover all age ranges. So if you're a new parent with a baby or a toddler, we offer specific children's programming just for that age range so that you're getting the developmental skills and the literacy skills to get your child off to a good start in school. If you have school-age children, we do fantastic programs beyond just story times. We offer like science programs and art programs and fun things that engage children in both the resources that the library offers through books and our databases, and just the fact that they're interacting with children their own age after school hours, still learning, but maybe not thinking that they're learning that much, which is nice. We offer programming for teens. Many of our locations try and do fun like Comic-Con style events where you're involving graphic novels and comic books and manga and costume development. And it's that social interaction aspect that the library brings to a community of everyone in our library's range. If you're an adult, that's a whole wide, broad swath of things. Just over the last block of time, you can come to the library and learn about your local master gardeners. You could learn about how to write a will. You could figure out how to use a computer program. Really, if there's a need in our community, we want to offer a program that fits that need.
And the Virginia Room is a great place
choice.
where genealogists go and do their research. It's a very popular feature that the system has.
That's a good point, and a lot of our seniors like to spend a lot of time at the libraries too. We often think about our kids coming after school, but seniors all day long are using the library for a number of opportunities.
Well, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't say the majority of our volunteers and our Friends members are older adults. And so not only are they coming to the library and using the services, they're also volunteering their time and energies towards the betterment of their communities.
You know, that's a great point, because we're so fortunate in this county to have a population of people who are driven, you know, highly motivated, educated, interested in volunteering their times and effort and putting things into the community, and that's a benefit a lot of places don't have. But people do volunteer all sorts of things, including with our libraries. It's a great place for people who are thinking maybe you've just retired, or the children have gone off to college and you have a little more time, to encourage people to say the library is a place to do some of that volunteering. Or to be on the library board. And Mike, in our sort of last minute, just tell us from the board's perspective, what do you see as being the challenges or the priorities of the board in the coming years?
Priority always is customer service, and making sure that we are postured and we are resourced to provide those services that the community desires. And that is what we want to do. And obviously that's budget driven, so we obviously would like the support of the Board of Supervisors to fund our resources and fund our system.
Okay. Well, we've had a great talk. There's so much more to go through, but we're out of time. I want to thank Jessica and Mike for joining me today and for the work they do in making our libraries the best they can be. I hope you have enjoyed this segment of Braddock Neighborhood News. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or other needs, please contact my office at 703-425-9300 or email braddock@fairfaxcounty.gov. Tune in next month for another edition, and please remember to volunteer your time. Our community needs you.